Okay, our x scale is going to have to go out to around 30 or so in order to answer the questions that we're going to be answering here. So the x scale is going to be kind of compressed. The x unit is only this big, a little less than half as big as a y unit. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to sketch our graphs. So let's start with the graph of h of x, negative 2x plus 3. Slope is negative 2, the y-intercept is 3. So we have this point and we know that the slope is negative 2. Can we use that information to find another point on the graph? Well, yeah, a slope of negative 2 means anytime we go over 1 unit, we've got to go down 2 units. So we could go over 1 unit here and down 2 units. Remember, the x unit that we go over is smaller on this scale than the y unit, so it actually looks like we're going down a lot more than we are. But right here would be a point. And what would the coordinates of that point be? Well, somebody told me pretty quickly in class that the coordinates of that point would be 1, 1. Because if we start at 0 and go over 1, that gives us an x-coordinate of 1. If we start at 3 and go down 2, that gives us an x-coordinate of 1. Okay, so we have our point on the graph, and we have this point, so we can draw a line through these points. Now, I actually want to get the graph a little more accurate. We only need 2 points. What if we go over 5 units? Then we have to go down 10 units, right? So if we go over 5 units, that puts us over here, and then we got to go down 10 units. Well, from 3, if we go down 10, well, there's 3 and there's 7 more. That puts us down here. And that gives us a point about here. So we can draw a line through this point and this point, and that's somewhat an advantage over trying to draw a line through this point and this point, because if we're off a little bit on locating this point, it's going to throw us way off down here. Whereas if we're off just a little bit on this point, we're going to be off much less when we're up here. So that's worth thinking about, but I'm going to go ahead and draw this line. Well, I kind of missed my point, but you see where I'm going. Okay? And I was going to draw this line in yellow because I got the h of x circled in yellow. And you see we pretty much nailed this point, even if we missed this one by a little bit. Okay, so anyhow, there's our h of x function. Straight line, intercept 3, with a slope of negative 2. Now, on a graph with an equal scale, slope of negative 2 wouldn't look quite that steep, but it'd still be fairly steep. Okay. Then we want to graph f of x equals x over 4 minus 7. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to graph that in purple, since I circled the f of x function in purple. How are we going to achieve a slope of 1/4? Well, again, people were really on top of this, I think, said, well, we go over 4 and up 1, and that's exactly what we would do. Because slope is rise divided by run. If we have a rise of 1 and a run of 4, that's going to accomplish it. So if we move over 4 units, that would put us over about here, and then go up 1, that would give us a point about here. Now, we could go over more than 4 units. We could go over 20 units. How much do we have to go up in order to have a slope of 1/4? Well, if we go over 20, that's the run. The rise would have to be 1/4 of that, or 5, and that would put us up about here. Now, if I can manage to draw a straight line from here to here, it should pretty much go through this point, but I think that unit was a little bit big, so I think we're going to kind of miss this point by a little bit, but let's just go ahead and see what we get. Okay, here I go. Yeah, and if this unit, had been spaced a little better, that point would have been on it. So this is our f of x function. Got a slope of 1/4 and y-intercept of negative 7. Then our g of x equals 3 function. Slope is 0, y-intercept is 3. Okay, how are we going to graph that function? I'm looking for a piece of green chalk here. Just had green in mind. Hang on. I just discovered the green chalk in an area of my desk where round things roll off to die. Wasn't aware if that area existed, but it's there. Anyhow, green chalk. Now, we share this point, so let me, green might not have been the greatest choice. It doesn't contrast that well with yellow, but it's a yellow and green point now at 0, 3. And the slope is 0. How are we going to accomplish a slope of 0? Well, rise over run equals 0 means that the rise has to be 0. That means the graph doesn't go up, doesn't go down. It just proceeds horizontally. And here's our g of x function, which I'll circle in green. Okay, yeah, it's not a very interesting function actually, but maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't want to hurt his feelings. Okay. Now, we want to answer some questions about these functions, but here are the graphs. And we'll continue by answering some questions that are related to the graphs, but don't immediately look like they're related to the graphs.